Formula One is a sport that combines speed, skill and technology to produce thrilling races and fierce rivalries. However, it also involves high risk and dangers as drivers push to the limits of their machines and themselves on challenging circuits around the world. With this, accidents are sometimes inevitable, and some of them have had a lasting impact on the history and development of Formula One. Today, we look at some of the most jaw-dropping crashes in Formula One and how they've changed the sport forever. In 1976, three-time world champion Niki Lauda faced a terrible ordeal at the Nurburgring when his Ferrari was suddenly sent into the barrier by a fierce snap of oversteer, his car bursting into flames which left him with serious burns and lung damage. He was stuck in the car for nearly a minute until other drivers and marshals came to his rescue. He was rushed to hospital with critical injuries and received the last rites from a priest. Against all odds, he survived and came back to racing only 6 weeks later, but he lost part of his right ear and most of his hair. He also struggled with psychological trauma and nightmares for years after the accident. The accident had a lasting impact on Formula One safety standards as it revealed the risks of racing on the old Nurburgring circuit, which was 22.8 kilometers long and had many blind corners, bumps, and elevation changes. The circuit was considered too unsafe for Formula One and was dropped from the calendar after 1976, never to be seen again. The incident also led to the introduction of medical vehicles that follow the cars on the first lap of every race to provide immediate assistance in case of an accident. The most tragic weekend in Formula One history took place at Imola in 1994, when two drivers lost their lives in separate incidents. On Saturday, Australian rookie Roland Ratzenberger crashed into a concrete wall at high speed during qualifying after his front wing failed. He suffered a fatal skull fracture and was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. He was the first driver to die in a Formula One event since 1982. Despite this, the Grand Prix weekend continued, and on Sunday the second tragedy struck. Brazilian legend Ayrton Senna was leading the race when he lost control of his Williams at the Tamburello corner and hit another concrete wall at over 300 kilometers an hour. The impact caused a suspension rod to pierce his helmet and injure his brain. He was airlifted to hospital but could not be saved. On May 1, 1994, Ayrton Senna was pronounced dead. He was widely regarded as one of the greatest drivers of all time and had won 3 world championships and 41 races. The deaths of Senna and Ratzenberger shocked the world and sparked a major overhaul of Formula One safety regulations. The FIA formed an expert group to investigate the causes of the accident and recommend improvements. Some of the changes, including reducing engine power and aerodynamic grip, raising cockpit sides and headrests, strengthening suspension components, improving crash barriers and runoff areas, introducing wheel tethers and headrests to prevent flying debris, mandating hands, devices, head and neck support systems for drivers, and enforcing stricter medical standards for circuits. The most recent fatal accident in Formula One happened at Suzuka in 2014, when French driver Jules Bianchi collided with a recovery vehicle that was attending to another crashed car. Bianchi was driving from Marussia in wet conditions when he aquaplaned off the track at high speed and hit the rear of a tractor crane that was airlifting Adrian Sutil's Sauber. The force of the impact caused severe head injuries to Bianchi, who was unconscious when extracted from his car. He was taken to hospital in a critical condition where he remained in a coma for 9 months before succumbing to his injuries in July 2015. Bianchi's accident raised questions about the safety procedures during yellow flag periods when drivers are required to slow down due to an incident on track and the use of recovery vehicles on active circuits. The FIA conducted an investigation into the accident and made several recommendations to improve safety. Some of these including introducing a virtual safety car system, which limits the speed of all cars on track electronically, enhancing drainage system on tracks to prevent aquaplaning, ensuring that recovery vehicles are only deployed when double yellow flags or safety cars were in effect, installing skid blocks under cars to reduce the risk of them going underneath larger vehicles, and developing better head protection systems for drivers. However, despite this tragedy, the 2022 edition of Suzuka's Grand Prix saw another near miss involving a tractor on track, which enraged many drivers and fans. Pierre Gasly, who had pitted for a new front wing after being hit by debris from Carlos Sainz's crash, was shocked to see a recovery vehicle on track as he was catching up with the field under the red flag. Gasly passed the tractor at high speed and in low visibility, and said he could have killed himself if he had hit it. The incident brought back painful memories of Jules Bianchi's fatal accident. Bianchi's father, Felipe, expressed his anger and disappointment on social media, saying that there was no respect for the life of the drivers or his son's memory. Other drivers also criticised the safety procedures and the decision to deploy the recovery vehicle while Gasly was still on the track. The FIA launched an inquiry into the incident and admitted that they had tarnished the image of Formula One. The incident raised questions about the consistency and fairness of the race director's decisions, as well as the safety implications of restarting a race with 1 lap to go. It also showed that Formula One still has room for improvement when it comes to ensuring the safety of its drivers and marshals. Not all crashes in Formula One are accidental. Some are deliberate acts of cheating or sabotage. One of the most notorious examples of this was the crash of Nelson Piquet Jr. at Singapore in 2008, which was part of a conspiracy by his Renault team to help his teammate Fernando Alonso win the race. Piquet Jr. was ordered by his team boss Flavio Briatore and engineer Pat Simons to crash his car on lap 14, at a point where it would be difficult to remove it quickly. This triggered a safety car period, which benefited Alonso, who had made an early pit stop and was able to jump ahead of the other drivers who had to pit under the safety car. Alonso went on to win the race from 15th on the grid, while Piquet Jr. claimed it was a simple mistake. The truth came out a year later, when Piquet Jr. was dropped by Renault and revealed the plot to the FIA. The governing body launched an investigation and found Renault guilty of race fixing. Briatore and Simons were banned from Formula One indefinitely, while Piquet Jr. was granted immunity for his testimony. Renault also received a disqualification from Formula One, which was suspended for 2 years on the condition that they committed no further offences. The scandal tarnished the reputation of Renault and Alonso, who denied any knowledge of the plan, and ended the careers of Briatore and Simons in Formula One. Romain Grosjean's crash at the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix is deemed as one of the most shocking and miraculous moments in Formula One history. The incident struck when the French driver collided with Daniel Kvyat on the first lap, causing his Haas car to pierce through a metal barrier at 192 km an hour. The impact split the car in half and caused a huge fireball. Grosjean was trapped in the burning cockpit for 27 seconds, but he managed to free himself and climb over the barrier with the help of the medical car crew and the marshals. He was taken to hospital where he had burns on his hands and a sprained ankle. He amazingly escaped any life-threatening injuries or fractures. The crash reminded us of the dangers of Formula One, but also of the incredible advances in safety that had been made over the years. The FIA investigated the crash and found that Grosjean survived thanks to several factors, such as the Halo cockpit protection system, which deflected the barrier and saved Grosjean's head from being crushed. Grosjean himself credited the Halo with saving his life, even admitting he was against the Halo when it was first introduced. The survival cell, which remained intact and protected Grosjean's body from the impact forces. The survival cell is made of carbon fiber and can withstand extreme loads and temperatures. The heat and neck support system. Hands, which limited the movement of Grosjean's head and neck during the impact and reduced the risk of spinal injury. The hands device is a collar that is attached to the helmet and the harness. The fire-resistant clothing, which protected Grosjean from the flames and heat for a limited time. This clothing is made of Nomex, a synthetic material that does not burn or melt. The quick response of the medical car and the marshals who arrived at the scene within seconds and helped Grosjean escape from the fire. The FIA also identified several areas where safety can be improved, such as the design of the barriers, which failed to absorb the energy of the impact and allowed the car to penetrate them. The FIA recommended replacing metal barriers with more resilient materials. The fuel system, which leaked fuel after the crash and caused the fire. The FIA recommended strengthening the fuel tank and connections and reducing the amount of fuel allowed in the car. The driver extraction, which was hindered by the position of the car in the fire. The FIA recommended enhancing the head restraints and seatbelts and developing better firefighting equipment. Grosjean's crash was a rare and extreme event that could have ended in tragedy, but instead became a story of survival and courage. The crash comes as a prime example of how Formula One safety has evolved over time thanks to the efforts of scientists, engineers, doctors, marshals, and drivers. Though very sad, Formula One has reached an advanced level of safety that is possible thanks to the previous tragedies that have occurred in the sport. These past accidents have not only claimed the lives of many drivers, but also taught valuable lessons that have led to improvements in safety standards and regulations. These improvements have helped to save many lives in motorsport today and will continue to do so in the future. What do you think could be done to further improve the safety in Formula One? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to never miss the latest news and analysis within the world of Formula One.